So it says here to set the generator here at 460 kilohertz, and I have done so. Just about 460, and we can see here when we look at the wave that's being generated. That's 460. You can see this in a previous restoration video. I set it for external mod right now, so we wouldn't see the AM on there. We can see that there it is right there. But yeah, just for going through this, right? And I've added my necessary capacitor as well. And then it says I should set the radio to about 800 kilohertz, and I should hit the bandwidth button, right? So let me go over there and hit the bandwidth button, which really doesn't mean anything right now because I haven't set it the frequency here. And then I'll turn on the thing. I'll get it set up to here, and then we'll get to the next step. So I want to point out an interesting note before anything else. In setting up the RF generator, before doing anything, on AM I'm seeing full deflection on this tube. And I've already discussed that the tube is weak, and as far as being able to see it, you know, there are issues. As far as functionality, the voltage getting to it that causes deflection, this is full deflection, and it's on AM, and it's operating correctly. So I just wanted to say that. But what I got here is everything before, you know, with modulation. I've disconnected the oscilloscope, and this is what I got. I got the negative going to this shield right here. The red one is just clipping these two together, really ad hoc, right? And it says in the instruction that I should have it set for 800, that for 460, and the bandwidth set for narrow, and the frequencies here on 800, and here we have the nice tone is coming through exactly as it should. Now, what I need to do is adjust 205 and 204 as listed here, and they are they're here somewhere. Right here, 205 and 204 need to be adjusted for maximum gain. So that's all there is to it. There's a slug on the bottom and a slug on top, and that completes that portion of this. I gotta flip the radio around in order to do this and reset this test back up. Just for reference, this is the shape of the slug, and it's filled with wax, so there's no way to see what this thing looks like. I've happened to have cleaned one out and pulled one upward so you can see that. This tuning process, we know I detuned this slug here to bring it up carefully and see what type it was. And now I'm going to bring it back down to position. I've got the oscilloscope on here too, and we'll listen to what happens to the speaker as I bring this into the correct position. I just passed it right there. And I'm actually watching the peak-to-peak voltage on the oscilloscope. So that's it right there. And then I would do the slug on the bottom. I've had to temporarily knock a piece of wood out and fabricate a screwdriver to do the underside because this is stupid. But sometimes it is what it is, and we gotta do what we gotta do. So now I'm gonna turn the radio back on and do the other side of this. At 205 and 204 are done. This cable can now be moved to the other tube, which will be used for the duration of this calibration, and that covers all three bands. CH81, which is tube number 2 on contact number 2 through the same exact capacitor as before. Using the same device, but obviously I'm going to be doing some different frequencies. It says here, Kurzwellenlupe auf Skala mittelstellen. I set it at 20 points. There was a total of 40. I believe that would be the middle. And we're going to set up for shortwave here. That's going to be the first one. And it talks about 17.8, so it should be short, middle, and long. 17.8 megahertz, 7.2 megahertz, 17.8 megahertz, okay. Yeah, the contacts we just spoke about, and the settings, you know, for maximum deflection. Deflection being the oscilloscope, or the speaker, as it were. And we'll work our way through this. Let's do that. Unfortunately, of course, to see these reliable positions, I have to keep deferring back to the oscilloscope from here. You know, as far as me calibrating this, I mean, I did, you know, get them close for analog. You know, this is 460, you know, pretty much. But, you know, to be absolutely sure, there's no reason why I shouldn't go to a frequency counter if it's available to me to make sure that's the case. See, I'm sitting at just about 17.8 megahertz, about as close as I could get it with the knob. So I have the shortwave antenna in the middle set to 0, or as close to 0. Let me see if I get that right on there. That's set to 0, and that zeroes that out. I'm trying to modify this test slightly because it's kind of stupid for shortwave, and the reason why it's stupid is the numbers that they're calling out are not on the dial, so there's no way to tell if the dial position is correct. I could put the shortwave loop at 0, which is fine, but there is no 17.8 and 7.2 megahertz. However, looking at the original data sheet, there is a correlation between 18.5 and 5.9, and that is 16.2 and 51 meters. So I'll be able to work with those, and that's what I'm going to dial in for. To get the measurements that actually exist on the dial, which are 16 meter and 49 meter, I've done a conversion, came up with 6.11 megahertz and 18.73 megahertz. And this is obviously different from the 17.8 and the 7.2, but whatever. These are the numbers that I'm going with. I got them both close enough now. So this is good. We'll move on. I should also point out these numbers here, 25, 24, 19, and 18 for AM. There's also these numbers exist here for FM. And they're listed up here at these coils up top. And I'll show them right here. I had actually found that the best way to set those up for AM was to tune into a station and adjust those coils for maximum signal strength. It turned out to be the most effective way, and that's how I actually implemented that. I wanted to point that out specifically. I had done so using the RF signal generator, but that method turned out to be very good as well. So I've had to take the radio back out of the chassis, and I will explain why. This is our local religious station, and it comes in very nicely, which is why I'm using it. And this is I believe 88.7, but the dial is showing I'm looking back there and it's 93 megahertz. So while the FM was set up very nicely, it's not aligned to the dial, not even remotely, and it's very confusing how this is set up to do this. So I found that there's, with the help of my wife actually, as she worked with me on this, talks about what happens if you have to replace this bulk unit here for FM. And it's this box, right? And basically what we're going to do is this. I know the frequency of this station. I'm listening to it now. I'm just going to wait for station identification one more time. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this onto that frequency, and this is going to obviously detune it. I'm going to loosen that screw right over here, and then I'm going to turn this so that I could adjust the tuner inside without changing the pulleys until I bring it back on a frequency, and then I'm going to lock it back down. And that should realign everything, right? So the whole point is I'm separating the tuner from the pulley, and that's what we're going to do.
They were getting out their evacuation plans to get out of Dodge, before the storm got here, and I'm glad that they got back home and they're safe. And maybe
I've also marked the bar on the other side too of the tuner, so it'll be easier to bring it back to this location. Having loosened this connection here, I can now tune from here. As you can see, independent from the dial. What I'm going to need to do, unfortunately, is set the dial in a position where at least I have access to one of these screws, which is kind of a pain, but it is the way it is. So I have it roughly tuned to 96.5. I have the front display sitting just around between 96 and 97, so we're going to lock it down and see what we got.
Florida, you can expect winds up to 70 miles per hour.
Got it all set up now. Now the station is reporting the correct station that we're receiving. I have retightened these screws and this is finished. We're done.
The good news, no.
So I got the bottom cover back on, back cover's on, and we're finished. Let's turn it around, give it a try. It took forever to find interesting background music for this. It took forever to find out how to align the FM to the dial. I tried everything. I even tried disconnecting this wheel and adjusting it as such, but there's a mechanical end to this. And when I did that, it's not linear, and only one station worked, so it would go well off the knob here, and then it would stop here. It didn't work, and I had to set that back up. Pouring through documentation and whatnot, I eventually found this screw right here. Eventually, or as it would turn out, tunes and detunes this frequency as needed in order to accomplish this task. So what I do is I get on a known frequency, and I forgot what it is because I'm making this video, but I think it's like 88.7 or whatever, and I just have to keep turning this off frequency, and then keep turning the knob down and bring it back on the frequency until I'm where I'm supposed to be on the dial.
Democrats up for re-election next year in states the president carried. West Virginia Democrat Joe Manchin told CNN he came away impressed.
The president came out and says, listen, this is not a tax cut for the rich. I'm not going to get a tax cut. Any of the wealthy...
Well, it's 90.7, so I'm slowly bringing it into the ballpark. I'd use a music station to do this, but YouTube will make your life absolutely miserable if you do that. Absolutely miserable. Even if you talk over it, even if it's well in the background, because YouTube is... Never mind. Never mind. So I'm just going to use NPR.
And breach zero, and we're working with another one of our partners to get additional police officers here. The members of the police force, about 80% of them suffered structural damages to their homes.
Wow.
But we've had more than 85% of them report to duty, and they've just been kind of going around the clock. So we're just really trying to get support systems in place.
Yeah. I know you met yesterday with the FEMA administrator, Brock Long.
It's hard to tell what 90.7 is, so I'm going to have to scan through the other channels to see how close I came. So this is Moody Radio 91.1, and you can see it's just under 91.5. I think I got it pretty close, so if I try another couple stations and I'm in the ballpark, I may leave this one alone. So this one ended up being 98.9. We're calling this good enough. We're closing this one out. And with that, I'm going to clean this up, and this project is over. Okay, fine. I just had to do one more thing. We haven't been able to test out the long wave function of this radio because I just haven't been able to pick up any frequencies that low. Okay? So I decided, okay, fine. I'm going to set this thing to a super low, like 240 something kilohertz. And I'm going to set up the RF signal generator to section A. And we're just going to run some super low frequency to a cable laying down here and pick it up, and we'll use the ferrite antenna to capture this event, and that'll be it. So here we go, and we'll just move this, and there it is. So right there, at just under 240, so just under 240, or in and about, and just around 240 there. Definitely not going to go and try and get this one super calibrated. And I could go and it's definitely using the antenna up there for this. Obviously, just got this just hanging right here. See? Okay, so yeah, so now I'm able to test out the last function of this long wave. Now I've covered everything. That's it. We're gonna close this one out. We're done. Thank you everybody for watching.